Your word is a lamp for my feet and a light for my path. Let's take a closer look at what this verse means. So first, we need to break down our verse into parts. So we have your word, lamp, feet, light, and path. So now that we've broken down our verse into parts, we need to identify the meaning of each part. So let's start with your word. What does your word mean here? So John 1:1 says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." So your word is referring to God's word, and similar to how the words we speak embody our thoughts. So God's word can refer to His ways and His commands. Now that we've identified the meaning of your word, let's move on to the next part of the verse. So what does the word lamp mean here? And what does the word feet mean here? So before we establish the meaning, we need to take note of the second line of the verse. So we have light and path. So if we look closely, lamp and light are directly related to each other because a lamp provides light when lit. And feet and path are directly related because your feet are required to take steps on a path. So if we reword this, it says, "Your word is a lamp and a light for my feet and my path." So why is it important to note the relationship that lamp and light have? So part of John 8:12 says, "I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life." So Jesus is speaking here, and this is important because light refers to following Jesus, which we see being contrasted to darkness, and to follow Jesus is to walk in the light, and to walk in the light is to live by His words and His commands. And by living by His commands, they guide us in the darkness, similar to how a lamp with a light can illuminate dark paths. So the relationship between lamp and light is important because it means to guide. So now that we have established the meaning of lamp and light, what does feet and path mean? So Psalms 37:23 says, "The steps of a person are established by the Lord when they delight in God's way." So remember the relationship between feet and path. Feet are required to take steps on a path. God calls us to walk the narrow path. To walk the narrow path means to live by His word and obey His commands. By living by His word and obeying His commands is like walking in His ways by taking steps with our feet. And when we give up our ways to walk in God's ways, our ways become His ways. So the meaning for the phrase feet and path is referring to ways. So now, if we apply what we just learned, the meaning of the verse says, "God and His ways and His commands are a guide for my ways." So now that we've established the meaning of this verse, how can we apply this to the way we live each day? So we can apply it by seeking God out for His ways and obeying His commands. Oftentimes, we can find ourselves in situations where we are left in the dark, not knowing what the right thing to do is. An example of what this could be is if someone does something to harm us, and our first response might be to hurt them back. But Jesus calls us to love our enemies and pray for those who persecute us, as Matthew 5:44 says. So when we persistently seek God out for His ways, rather than doing what we think is right based on our own thoughts and ways, God's ways and His commands becomes the lamp and the light we need to guide us on the right steps we need to take in order to keep walking the narrow path that He calls us on. So in summary, we can apply this verse each day by consistently seeking God out to follow in His ways.